We have just spent a lot of time explaining to you the importance of how the person identifies with race, what values he carries, and what attitudes he carries. Now I'm going to talk about a point called racial saliency. Now, this tells us the level to which an individual identifies with the race. Now, as counselors, we will need to be careful on that one as well. How does this impact us? Well, we might meet parents who identify with the race and the culture very strongly, and their students, their children, the person you are counseling, they might not. Now, how is that happening? Well, you see that happening all the time, where parents come from a background where they have studied, they were living in an environment which was very, very strongly cultural oriented. But they shifted to a city. This is an example. They shifted to a city. And in the city, which was a metropolitan, and the children went to a school which was it wasn't a homogeneous group of people with only one type of people over there. The children ended up meeting with a variety of people from a variety of culture, from a variety of strata of society. Their thoughts, their values, their attitudes expanded. They had more exposure to a variety of things that their parents did not have exposure to. And we have this child studying in the school, say, for 12 years, from class 1 to class 12. So, of course, this child has also imbibed a lot of culture, points, values, small nuggets from other people as well. Now, his identification with culture or with race might not be as strong as his parents. And that could be a point of discord when they come to you for guidance, where parents want the students to go into something which is more acceptable to them and their culture. For example, the easiest example that I can think of right now is a farmer's family. They are very keen on that, and that is what has given them survival and power and money, the agricultural aspect of their lives. And they're very happy with that. They have a standing in society because of that. And they're very happy with the opportunity that they had to put their child into a school which was very good so that he could have more exposure. Now, along with the exposure came new opportunities, came new information, came exposure to new job roles that that child's friends, parents might have been doing. And now the child feels that he could experiment with being an engineer, for example, or he could want to get into completely the finance field. Nothing to do with agriculture, not even doing science anymore. Or he discovers a strong love for accounts and wants to be a chartered accountant or a statistician or an actuarial scientist person. Now, here, for the child, it does not really matter that he wants to go back to the roots of agriculture. But the parents might feel that, oh my God, we had such a big farm and so much of things that are coming to us from the farming, and the child is not going to be there. That's again where a career counselor kind of rolls up his sleeves to sit down to explain to the parents a bit about how it is okay for the children to experiment with new things, exploration of new things, and speak to the children about how they should be slightly more understanding about where their parents are coming from. That is why the concept of racial saliency is introduced when we speak about multicultural skills. The point that I'm going to explain now is a point that people who have just come out of 2020, the lockdown, will be able to relate far more than had we spoken about this concept earlier. So this is called the concept of creative uncertainty. Now, what does this mean? It is part of a career counselor's work to encourage the students, the individuals, to be engaged in activities that will help them generate unplanned career opportunities. And everybody, all of us, because we've been through 2020, we know that it was so unplanned. We didn't even think about it. It hit us all Very, very unexpected. And what did you all do? You didn't let that thing shut down the education system. Everybody in the education system got together and you developed an entire new way of making sure that students and education kept moving forward. And that is what is based on the theory of happenstance by Crumbles. Happenstance is the idea of recognizing unplanned, unexpected developments in life and using those to your own advantage and moving on in life. And that is exactly what we all did. Teachers got to know about technology. Teachers got to know about how to use Zoom and so many other platforms. So much. Where older people like us were not doing that so much. We were not so much into technology. We would just shy away for it. So much. And now we are so comfortable with it. We actually lived the theory of happenstance. And now it is easy for you to understand as counselors why you should and why we do encourage our youngsters to keep up hobbies, to keep up engaging in activities which they can use in other ways. When the lockdown happened, a lot of us made food at home who had never even cooked. And that has opened up opportunities for them in a certain space should they choose to shift careers. Baking, cooking, drawing, painting, stitching. My God, so much has opened up for people. So the fact that we plan, so far we've been talking about planning and we continue to do that let's understand our personality, our aptitudes, our interests, and let's join them together and plan what to do next, how to go about it, what entrance exams to give, what colleges to apply for, which is very good. But now we are talking that let's encourage everybody around us to be open, to take life in their stride, because unplanned things happen. I know of a friend who went into an institute to be there as an English instructor. And when she reached there, she was told that they don't have a vacancy for an English instructor, but they are looking for a center manager. Would she be interested? And she, fortunately, took it in her stride and said, well, I'm looking for a job. Why not try it out? This was totally unexpected. It was totally unplanned. And now she's managing not only one, but about, I think now 4 centers for that organization. And she's doing very well. She didn't even know that she had it in her to become such a good manager. She was only focused on her core skill, which was teaching English, because that is where her educational background was from. So this, as a counselor, we need to inculcate, bring to light for our students. How can this happen for us is that our individual in front of us was very keen for engineering, say, and they appeared for the exam very well. And in the flow, they also gave the exam for architecture, because it's like kind of similar. And eventually when the results came out, for some reason, the engineering rank that she got was low, did not get them into a good college that they wanted to be in. But architecture, they got fantastic result and he or she got admission into a great college of architecture. Now as a counselor, it is our job to reframe the situation for them, to help them reframe it for themselves, to see this not as a failure of not getting into engineering, but as a godsend gift to get into architecture in which they will really flourish because they also had a creative bent of mind. So that is where happenstance comes into play. And that is where, when we are also open to opportunities, planned or unplanned, we can encourage others to do it as well. Planning is great, but being able to face situations with flexibility is also very important. In fact, they say that the most flexible person in the room is the most successful person in the room. And finally, let's talk about creating opportunities for involving the stakeholders. Now, so far, we've been going on about how important it is for the career counselors, guidance practitioners to be reading, to be up to date with knowledge, to build their knowledge base about race, culture, job market opportunities, the match between the person and the personality and the job, requirements of the job. But what does it mean to involve stakeholders? Stakeholders could be parents, other students as well. It is not enough that they came to a guidance counselor. As guidance counselors, we must encourage to do research themselves as well. Have conversations about the research that they've done, so that it is not just what the guidance counselor said that they should do, but something that they've come to a consensus with, that they've thought about it, they've talked about it. It's a mutually agreed upon decision, not something that the child can later on blame the parent that, oh, you made me do this. Or the parent can say to the child that it was your choice. So why not talk about it more? Why not encourage them to be involved? Why not give them some homework that when we meet next time, let's research individually, all of us, more about this area. How is this most suitable for you? What is the attraction for it for you? Say that to the parents if they have some options for the children. Say that to the children if they have options which might not be in sync with the parents. Let the child have reasons for his options. Encourage that. That is where we become different from anybody who can read literature on what's available in the market and give information. As counselors, career counselors, we are far more than just people who are giving information. We are helping them decide and take wise decisions. And that can be done only when we make sure that they are equally involved. So try and do that. It will always hold you in good stead. I am sure you are realizing that as we are going deeper into our course, we are progressing in our course, the ask of you as career counselors is becoming bigger and bigger. Please don't let it daunt you. May this be an encouraging factor for you, because you are now becoming people who are going to have such an important impact on lives that you touch. When you meet people, and you will be meeting a lot of people, one practice that will hold you in good stead always is that listen, of course, analyze, discuss, and then document your observations. It is very, very, very important to document. Because initially, we might feel that, oh, I will remember. This was so unique. The parent and the child had such unique ideas. I will not forget this. But as the day goes by, as the days go by, and you meet more and more people, free your mind of the tension of retaining everything in itself. Free it to become more creative, more curious about new inputs. And that can be done only when we write down, we document in whatever way is suitable for you, the information that we've exchanged with the child, that they have given us. This helps us in two ways. Firstly, when we meet the parent and the individual later on, we start exactly where we had left. There is no going back into, oh, what did we talk about the last time? It's like a teacher who knows the lesson plan and knows exactly what she taught last day, and now what she's going to talk about in this present section. The second way that it helps you is that it gives you a fallback, that should you encounter something similar, which you might be getting stuck in, or you might want to help somebody else with, you know exactly where to go to research that, pick out your research from there, and move it forward to the other person who will benefit from it. So you are basically not reinventing the wheel every time you sit down for counseling. So listening, analyzing, and discussing is happening right there. Documentation is an aspect that as career counselors, no matter how short a conversation you might have with somebody, I would strongly suggest that please record and document your observations. All the best for that. If we were to sum up everything that we've done so far about the guidelines and how we can be as career counselors, this is one acronym that is very useful. And I would strongly request, no, let me change that. I would actually ask you to do this. Please write this down on a piece of paper and keep it someplace where you can see it every time you are working as a career counselor. So let's talk about what this is. Respectful, religious, economic, sexual, psychological, ethnic, chronological, traumatic, familial, unique, and location. These are the points that we need to understand and keep in mind, as all of these points will be relevant for every person that you meet in a fresh, new way. Let's take them up one by one. Religious. And we've been through these points earlier, so we will just take them one by one. Religious. What religion they're coming from and what are the things that matter to them within that religious framework. Can they shift out? Do they have some preferences about food which might hold them back from maybe joining the hotel industry? Can they work in a certain environment? Does it require for them to be dressed in a certain way, have their hair in a certain way? Will their religion allow them? So all of these points become very important for us to keep in mind. Then we talk about economic. Economics in two ways. Firstly, what is their economic background? Where are they coming from? We should have options open for them which are in sync with the economics that they are capable of. And of course, the economics of the jobs that they are searching for, which a lot of people already know, but that is also an important input. And we should not limit our options, but these should be out in the open in the very beginning, so that they can then see whether they want to move forward with one option based on the economics, or if it's too much, then take a call and shift to the other option. Sexual. This is where we talk about gender. Sexual orientation as an consideration for job options. We are hoping that we are moving towards a society where this is no longer a problem. It's no longer an issue. It's no longer a consideration, where all jobs are open for all people. That is what we are hoping for. And that is the kind of social change agents that we are hoping that we all become. However, gender is a consideration that the parents might have, the student might have, and we might need to look into. What are their gender biases or their gender preferences would be an important point for you to keep in mind. Psychological. What is the mental health of the individual who is in front of you? How are they in their present frame of mind? Is that conducive for you to have a conversation with them? That's the start point. It is also important to keep your psychological, your mental health in mind. Are you in the right frame of mind? Or do you want to take a break, go have a glass of water? Or maybe just do it the next day if you can afford to. Keep all of these in mind. Psychological mental health is not only for the individual, it is yours as well. Because when you give it all, career counseling is not relaxing at all. Ethnic. What cultural background they are coming from. We've spoken about this. How much of their identity is based on their culture? Is that in sync with their cultural identity that the parents have? Will that impact where they would want to see an option? Will that impact whether they would want to change location and go out and stay and study? All of these things will be kept in mind. Chronological. Of course, the age of the individual in front of you. Sometimes it's obvious, where the child is in class 10, class 12, or in graduation. So we understand what the child might want to do and where he is chronologically in his family as well. But when we are meeting people who may be wanting to transition or who are slightly older, it's important for us to understand where they stand in the family, where they are they responsible for providing bread and are they responsible for providing survival for their families? The income of their jobs is what their house is running on. These points will be kept in mind. Traumatic. Now, this is very important for us to know because sometimes people who've been through traumatic situations feel in sync with those situations and feel that they would do very well if they were helping people come out of the situation that they have come out of. For example, I often meet youngsters who have conquered depression or have come out of anxiety, and now they want to become psychotherapists or psychologists or counselors to help other people in the same space. It is important for us and for them to realize that coming out of a situation is a capability, and it may or may not be a competency for them to use as a job in future. It might be a strong point right now in their lives, but is it something that they would want to do for a longer time? Needs a deeper consideration. So this is something that I would request you to keep in mind when you're talking about it. Then we come to familial, where the family structure is. How many people are dependent? What is the structure of the family? Is this person a husband over there? And the wife is not working. So what does the family structure mean? Where do they stand in the level? Is also important for us to keep in mind. I will talk about unique in a moment. Before that, I will talk about location. Location we've spoken about, where it is the geographical factors, whether do they have the capability and the willingness to shift out of their areas? Is it something that they can do? If they can't, then what are the options there? And how can you nudge them just a little to take up that stepping out of the comfort zone? So the geographical factors, the location also makes a lot of difference. Now coming to the unique. This is one thing that as counselors, as career counselors, we need to be very, very aware of. Everyone that we meet is unique. We cannot fall into the trap of looking at one child, talking to them for about, say, 5 minutes and saying in our own minds that, oh, this is similar to the child that I met that day. Because the moment we do that, the moment we take away the uniqueness of one individual, we've entered into the zone of having a bias. And the moment bias is a shortcut, right? And any shortcut which is mental, that is a bias, takes away from your ability to be curious. And if you as a counselor stop being curious about the individual, you've taken away the uniqueness from them. And they don't deserve that. This is very important to remember, especially on those days where you might have 4 or 5 people that you've counseled. It could be 9 that you've counseled in one day. For you, it might be the 4th person that you are counseling. But for them, you are the first and maybe the only counselor that they are approaching. You owe it to them to treat them as unique individuals. This point cannot be stressed more and more. I cannot put more emphasis on this. And no matter how much I put, this is the most important point. Please underline this and highlight it when you write the respectful acronym on a table or on a piece of paper right in front of you as you sit on the table to start counseling, that treat everyone as a unique individual, somebody who deserves your curiosity and your fresh mind. All the best with that.